This release comes more than a month after the initial disclosure of files on the late sex offender and his longtime confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell. Among the things we're seeing as we comb through these records are files from court proceedings and investigations into Epstein and Maxwell, correspondence that he had with friends and associates, and we're seeing photographs and videos in which some faces are blacked out, redacted.
To protect victims, we redacted every woman depicted in any image or video, with the exception of Ms. Maxwell.
Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, announced this disclosure today at a press conference in Washington, D.C. He said that hundreds of prosecutors had been called into action to look through these records, to comb through them to make sure that victim information and victims' faces were not shown. And he pushed back at criticism that the Justice Department was trying to protect President Donald Trump. He said no one is here to protect Trump.
To protect victims, we redacted every woman depicted in any image or video, with the exception of Ms. Maxwell. We did not redact images of any men, unless it was impossible to redact the woman without also redacting the man.
You know, I'd like to, again, I'd like to respond to all your, if any questions seem to be relevant, but I'd like to...
Yes, I can assure that we complied with the statute, we complied with the act, and there is no, we did not protect President Trump, we didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents. And there's nothing I can do about that. But President Trump, of all the people in Washington, D.C. and around this country that have said for years the same consistent message about Jeffrey Epstein as President Trump. And so there's not been a change of course or anything, and certainly his direction to the American people and the his direction to the Department of Justice was to be as transparent, release the files, be as transparent as we can, and that's exactly what we did.
This is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given, but it's really a Democrat hoax.
Well, I think we can assume we'll see a lot of images of Ghislaine Maxwell. She is not being redacted. DOJ says that there are images of her. What would be interesting to see is what videos or still photos there are where there are redacted victims, for example, faces, but are there images of people who are not victims who are in those photographs? And what does that mean for the big Epstein picture here? And are these people who are familiar to us? Are there people who were in the last drop of documents and photographs? Well, we will see soon enough if the people think that DOJ is falling short on what they're releasing. Are people comparing things that they already know to see what's in the DOJ files? Remember also what's happened recently. You had claims by Ghislaine Maxwell and her attorneys that there were more than 24 people who entered into deals to avoid prosecution. Whether or not that's accurate, that remains to be seen. But that's a claim that's out there, and that certainly takes us to a different level. If she is telling the truth, if her people are telling the truth, does that match up to what we see in these DOJ files? And is that a whole new avenue to go down?